Hello everybody and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another video. Today we are continuing the Celestial soap theme with a soap that a lot of soap makers have made in the past and one that I've wanted to make for a while. So today we are making Northern Light soap. I have my lye water and my oil set at about 100 degrees and you can see that not all of my shea butter has fully melted, but that will be fully incorporated into my soap once I use my stick blender to incorporate my colours. This soap is being made in two parts, so I am just going to emulsify my soap batter as always by using my spatula to stir my lye water and my oils together to fully combine them. Once I'm happy that those are emulsified, I'm going to start working on my layers. Now the first layer that I'm going to do is going to be the trees and the scenery, so I'm separating about a quarter to a third of my soap batter into a separate container. And I'm going to add my essential oils into my mix. Now the essential oils that I'm using today are a blend of lavender, lemongrass and fir essential oils, so it's a really nice, calm, fresh, woodsy scent that I'm adding in here, perfect for the woods and the outdoors. And then I'm going to colour this with activated charcoal so I get that nice silhouette. Now the lemongrass essential oil in this blend is going to accelerate my soap batter just a little bit, which is going to be great because I'm going to create a textured layer to this soap. I'm going to create some mountains as the background to my northern lights. So once I've added my activated charcoal into this batter, I am using my stick blender to bring it to a medium to thick trace, making sure that I'm happy with the black colour that I've got. Now to create this sculpted layer, I don't want any waste from this soap, so I'm actually going to use my spatula to create the mountains as the background. I'm not actually using a scraper, which means that I can start texturing this soap when it's a little bit thinner than I would be able to with a spatula. So I'm just going to keep using my stick blender until my soap is as thick as I can get it, and then I'm going to pour it into my molds. Alright, my soap is nice and thick and I'm going to scrape off the stick blender here because I don't want too much black in the rest of the soap. So I'm getting as much of it out as I can. And I've brought in my soap molds and I'm going to pour my soap evenly into those molds. You can see that my soap is nice and thick but still pourable. So I'm dividing that equally between my molds. And I am going to leave a little bit in the bowl to add some finishing touches to the top of this soap. Now I let my soap sit up for a few minutes and you can see I'm using my spatula to move the soap to form two peaks, and those are going to be my mountains. I'm making them as smooth as I can, but they don't have to be completely smooth all the way along the loaf of the soap. Once I'm happy with the mountains, I'm going to move on to creating the rest of my soap. I'm separating a small amount of my soap out to be the green for the northern lights, and then I'm going to add some indigo powder to create the blue night sky. So I'm adding my indigo to my large container, and I don't need very much, just about a quarter of a teaspoon, maybe less than that. And then I'm going to add some zinc oxide into both parts. I just want to lighten up the green and the blue a little bit so that the blue contrasts with the black. And then I'm adding some spirulina for the green colour. Now I've mixed this a little bit with my spatula to make sure I'm happy with the hue of the colours that I've got. And then I'm going to use my stick blender to fully incorporate those colours and disperse the zinc oxide. Now I've brought my blue to a light to medium trace, and I'm going to do the same with my green so that they make a nice in the pot swirl and combine to make some nice swirls in the background of this soap. Now that I've reached the trace that I'm looking for, I'm pouring the green right on top of the blue. I started out quite high up and lowered the pot right in so that the green is all the way through the blue soap. And now that I've got my green container all scraped out, I'm going to go ahead and pour my soap into my molds. I am using my spatula to break the fall so that I don't ruin the mountains that I have already created. But I'm moving my bucket back and forward to create some texture in the soap and some definition in the swirls of the green and blue night sky. And I'm going to carry on creating that zigzag pattern to create almost like stripes in the sky. You can see that as my soap has poured a little bit more, it has lost some of its definition. It's more of a greeny blue rather than a green and a blue. So I'm going to make sure I layer that right on top of the more defined colors. So when you cut into the soap, you'll have a layer with really defined green and blue separation, and then as you reach the top of the soap, they will be more combined. And as I reach the top of the soap, I'm going to stop zigzagging back and forward and get all of the rest of that soap batter into my molds and make sure it's layered appropriately. Alright, with all of my soap in my molds, I did let my soap set up for about 5-10 minutes till the blue layer was nice and firm and I could create the texture in the top. So I'm going to do that by pulling the soap from the side into the middle, and I want it to go about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way across my soap. I'm going to leave the other side untextured so that I can create some interest on the top, and I'm going to pipe some little trees on the top of this soap. So with some of that black soap batter that I have left over, I'm just using a Wilton 1M tip and I'm piping one little blob onto each of the bars of soap. And I am using my ruler here to make sure that the little trees end up right in the middle of the bar so that they don't get cut when it comes time to cut this soap loaf. So I created the first section of the trees on each of my soaps, and then I'm going to go back and pipe another dollop right on top of the first one to create the second and third layer of those trees, and they're going to look just like fir trees in the dark, nice and silhouetted against the night sky. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all of the rest of my bars of soap. And here is a look at the top of this finished loaf. So I'm going to let these soaps set for about 24 hours, and I am back the next day to cut this loaf. So I've lined it up with my multi-bar cutter to make sure I cut between all of those trees, and let's take a look at the inside. I just love this soap and all of those nice green and blue swirls that are in the Northern Lights layer. There's some little speckles of white in the indigo layer which kind of look like the stars in the night sky. The definition that I managed to get between the green and blue is perfect for this Northern Lights sky, and those little trees lined up on top are so cute. So let's finish up by having a look at the finished bar of soap. You can really see the definition in the mountains and the green hue from the Northern Lights, and then those little trees sitting right on top are so cute. I love the way this bar turned out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.